Hello, Vanessa Webb Stampin Up Demonstrator Australia here. Today I am playing with the Sweet Citrus bundle, which you will find in the current mini catalogue. Now there is a stamp set that is part of this bundle, which has these really gorgeous two-step stamp citrus themed stamps, as well as some flowers. There's also leaves. There's a couple of really cool greetings that you can use all year round. There is also what is known as a hybrid embossing folder. So there's the embossing folder with matching dies, which also correspond with some of the shapes in the folder that you can see there. So you can emboss and then cut, or cut and then emboss, it's up to you. You can even just use this embossing folder by itself as a background. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is show you how to make a really cool background. I'm making a lime themed card, and today we are actually doing scratch and sniff cards. So if you haven't made scratch and sniff cards before, you might be interested in this video, and I've got the recipe for the scratch and sniff formula that you can make up at home, and it's actually really quite simple with a couple of ingredients. So I'm just going to put half my folder in there to capture that part of the embossing folder, and I need to grab my yes, because it's a 3D embossing folder, I need to grab what's called my 3D embossing plate, my adapter plate, which is here. And I'm just going to run that through, and out the other side you will see a beautiful pattern on your cardstock. And you can do this obviously on any colour that suits. We could even do ruby red grapefruits, I thought, the other day. So I've even seen these used as coconuts, just cutting out that middle part and just having the shell and colouring that in white. So there's lots of options with this stamp set and this embossing folder. So there's our background done with the hybrid embossing folder. I'm just going to pop this to the side for the moment. We will need it again later to cut some things, so I'll keep it handy. The other thing that I'm going to use for this card, because I've done a couple of these cards, and I wanted to make several of them fairly quickly. So I've got my Stamparatus here, and I've already got the stamps mounted. So the great thing about the Stamparatus is that you only have to line up your stamps once with a two-step stamp, and then you're good to go. So you no more lining up after you've done it once. I've cut these cards down to about 7 by 10 centimeters, and I've popped them in the correct position. I've just got a little indication there where I need to put my sheets of white paper. So you can stamp everything on that size. So as I said, I'm going to do lime. So what I'm going to do is use the Parakeet Party for the inside of my limes, and the Granny Apple Green, I know it's the wrong fruit, but it will look really good, for the outside, the outline. So here we go, my Parakeet Party. I'm just going to ink that up the top there. It's a lovely green colour, so just a little bit lighter than the Granny Apple Green. And there's my my first step of my limes. You've got the inside of the limes, and then what I'm going to do is pop this one over here, and you'll see that it is actually in the correct spot. Let me just move this up a little bit more, make sure it's in the correct spot that it was. Yep, that's looking pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to ink this up, ink the other side up in Granny Apple Green, and that will provide me with a nice outline, and they will look like limes. You'll end up with an extra little image down here. Don't worry about that. The 3 that we're going to use on our card are these 3. This one corresponds with something on the embossing folder, but we're not using that for this card. So there are my limes, very cool. Now what I need to do is clean these, clean the top one off again, first one that I did, because I'm going to stamp in Versamark next. And what I need to do is actually use the Versamark to hold the heat and stick powder, which will in turn hold my mixture that I've formulated for my scratch and sniff card. So I'm just going to grab, you could use your Stampin' Chamois. I've just got handy here some baby wipes. Don't use the ones with lanolin in them. Just use the plain unscented baby wipes and just clean both of those off while you're here. Excellent. And now here is my Versamark. Now this is a nice wet ink and it's going to stay wet so that my my mixture, I'm going to call it a mixture because it's a mixture of embossing powder and other things, will actually also stay wet until I've melted it. I'm just going to leave that sitting at the top there before I stamp it. And I'm going to show you what I've got here. These are 3 different types of mixtures that I have created using jelly crystals and clear embossing powder, as well as a couple of drops of essential oil. So I found that the jelly crystals gave a really nice base note, which actually wears off over time. This one, these oils actually give a high note to the smell of the scratch and sniff. And if you add these, the smell lasts a bit longer. So you've got a couple of different scents going on, a couple of different things that are helping to create the scratch and sniff. Now my formula for this, and I'll pop it down the bottom of this video as well, is half clear embossing powder, half jelly crystals or whatever flavor that you're wanting. So half clear embossing powder, half jelly crystals. I've kept these old containers for this purpose. And I put about 5 to 10 of the corresponding oil drops in there. So if I open this, it's actually going to smell, really strong. And that scent is going to last a little bit longer. The scent does not last forever, so it's like those scratch and sniff stickers. Eventually the smell runs out, but every time you scratch it, you will disturb the particles a little bit and the scent will lift off the card. So the idea is they're a little bit interactive, and it's best to scratch and sniff early in the piece rather than years later and hope that the smell is still there. So I've got lime, orange and lemon. I'm going to use the lime for this card because we've stuck with the greens. I'll show you my lemon and orange card afterwards. So here we go. I'm going to stamp the Versamark again over this solid piece that I've already stamped in the green. So that's the middle of the limes. You only need to put the scratch and sniff in one part, and there it is. Okay, so what I will do now is just apply this. Remember, it's got the embossing powder in it, but it's also got the jelly crystals in it. And I'm gonna have to use this. That's all right, I'll press it on just so it gives some really good coverage before I melt it, because you're going to treat this like a normal piece of embossing. So I'll use this whole, I don't know if you can see that that's all stuck to my image. Okay, ready to melt. And then I will funnel this back. It smells gorgeous. I wish you guys could smell through video, but you can experiment with different flavors of jelly crystals. You might have a strawberry stamp, so you might want to use a berry flavored jelly crystal, and you could also substitute the oil. So I've already put my oil in there. I put 5 to 10 drops of the lime oil in there, so it's carrying its scent really well. All right, now I'm just going to use my heat gun like I would normally use it for embossing. Okay, so that's melted, the embossing powder, but you'll feel that it's a little bit bumpy as well, and that's the jelly crystal flakes still on there. And if you were to scratch that now, let me just give it a go. Yeah, that smells nice and limey. I'm happy with that. Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. Okay, so that's worked really well. The embossing powder has melted, but it's melted with the jelly crystals. You don't want to hold your embossing gun on there too long, because remember, jelly crystals have sugar in them, and sugar can go brown if it's heated, a little bit like creme brulee. We're not making creme brulee. We want to just melt that powder enough so that it holds the jelly crystal flakes, so that when you scratch them, that scent will be activated. So that's really cool. I'm happy with that. While I'm here, I'll just show you, I've actually got the flowers on the other side, and I've stamped them in the same spot just twice, because I needed a couple of them. And I'll just show you a little trick with the flowers. You don't actually have to colour them in with extra ink. If you have just got your aqua painter, you can use the aqua painter just to blend the flowers so that the ink moves around a little bit. Just looking for my aqua painter. There we go, my water painter. So yeah, so if you don't have the ink pad with you and you've already stamped, just bring in the ink from the outside of these flowers. There are matching dies for these flowers as well. So I don't know if you can see the difference. These ones have been coloured, and that's left white. It just gives you a really nice soft, soft look to your flowers, and you don't need any extra colour. I've stamped them in Melon Mambo, by the way. Alrighty, so now we have some, we've got some dies to cut these out with, and I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So the dies fit on like that. Okay, so I've got my platform. I'm going to arrange these so that they're cutting everything at once. I didn't use leaves on my lime card because I thought it had enough green, but on my lemon and my orange card, you'll see when I bring them in to show you, I actually did use the green leaves, and the leaves are part of the stamp set. So running that through. I've got three little flowers that I've coloured in with my aqua painter, and I've got my 3 pieces of lime, or my 3. One's a whole lime, the other one's half a one, and the other one looks like a slice of lime. Alrighty, there we go. Okay, so now I'm ready to start assembling. I've actually got a word window here made with the Stylish Shapes die. That's just one of the banners that has that has the stitching around it, which I think looks nice. And I've used the Blushing Bride, which kind of coordinates with the Melon Mambo. It's just a little bit softer. And I am going to use the Have a Zesty Birthday because I need a couple of birthday cards. I'm just going to stamp this in black, keeping it really simple, stamping it right in the middle there. So there you go, there's my greeting and my flowers all ready to go on the card. I've also got some of this thread that's actually the sparkly thread, that's the in colour thread. Sweet Sorbet, this colour is. It is actually more of a pink than a red though. I find it goes really well with a lot of our pinks. So that's where I tend to use it. So I'm just going to tie that in a little bow, and I will grab some dimensionals. This is the mini dimensionals. So I'm going to put a couple on the back of my medium one first, and then my large lime. I can smell this from here even without scratching it. It's amazing. You can have a lot of fun with this technique. There are some really nice flavors of jelly crystals too, and some great scents in the essential oils. I've used Doterra essential oils, which I find are the best quality. So there you go. There's 2 parts of the lime. I might pop my gridding on next because that's going to go just across the middle of the card, really simply. And there we go. So just apply that there right in the middle. And I'll just grab a glue dot to adhere my bow. Glue dots are fantastic for bows. I'll just pop that right in the middle up the top there. Now for my flowers, I'm going to also grab a couple of dimensionals. You can see why these small dimensionals the mini dimensionals are perfect for these flowers. You wouldn't want to go big because you'd be able to see them. And isn't it great that we've got black dimensionals as well now, so we can fit them behind darker pieces and they can be almost invisible. I'm going to pop one up there, one here, and maybe just one down there, just as a little accent. I've also got some of these embellishments. These are from the mini catalogue, and I can't remember the name of them now. I'll pop the name down the bottom. I've used a couple of the small ones, the more neutral colour, just to pick up the sparkle of the ribbon, but you can see how that just really sets that off. And I'm going to, that's right, I need to fit this other one down here, so let me just grab another couple of dimensionals. You could put these on flat or with dimensionals. I think it looks better if they're just sitting up a little bit. And I'm just going to wedge this in down here. Okay, scratching it again. Oh yeah, that's just gorgeous. Let me show you my other colours that I created, and I will pop the other items, the other colours that I've used down the bottom of the video as well. So here we go. We've got some oranges, which also smell quite divine, and this is a lemon one, which uses different colours and the Daffodil Delight in the background. So there you have it. There are my scratch and sniff cards. As I said, I will pop the formula down the bottom. Don't forget to follow me, subscribe to my channel so that you can see lots more hints and tips and creative ideas with Stampin' Up products. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment. Bye.